How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Yanks Foodie. We're your hosts, Zach and Robert. And the main topic for today will be over the U20 roster. The CONCACAF U20 Championship begins tomorrow. That'll be July 19th if you're watching tomorrow or whenever you decide to watch this. This roster dropped last week, and to begin this, we're going to read off the roster for those who haven't seen it yet. So, quick thing to say is a 21-man roster, and 3 of those have to be goalkeepers per recognition. Sorry, by the rules of CONCACAF. So we got Adam Buji, Julian Eyestone, and Doran Ferry. The defenders are Luca Bombino, Noah Cobb, Aiden Harangue, Stuart Hawkins, Ethan Kohler, and Nolan Norris. The midfielders are Taha Habrun, Cruz Medina, Sergio Arrigo Jr., Pedro Soma, Brooklyn Reigns, and Nico. Not going to try to pronounce that Greek name. And Ninfa Bershamas, I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. Cairo Figueroa, Xavier Gozo, Ruben Ramos Jr., David Vasquez, and Marcos Sobrano. They also are bringing 3 alternates. And those are Diego Garcia of Dallas, Santiago Morales of Inter Miami, and Fritz Fulmer from Northwestern University. So, what is your first take on seeing the roster?
I think it's not the strongest thing. Obviously, a lot of European clubs aren't going to want to release their players right now. One thing I noticed that was kind of interesting to me with Taha Habron is he's listed as a midfielder, which is kind of interesting to me because when I've seen him play for Columbus's first team a few times, he's got 1 start with them. He's played a more like forward winger type role, like he played like Diego Rossi's role in his start against Salt Lake. So I don't know, that was interesting to me to see him there, just to see how I think it's a good sign that he's versatile, but it's just interesting to see where he's going to play in the U20 team.
So let's just go group by group. Well, actually, let me just cover some of the guys who are European based that did make this roster, and that's Julian Eyestones of Brentford, Eden Harangue of Eintracht Frankfurt, Ethan Kohler of Werder Bremen, Pedro Zoma of Cornella, Carol Figueroa of Liverpool, and Marcus Sobrano of Victoria Jimenez. Sorry. So yeah, let's go group by group, and we'll start with the goalkeepers. What are some of your opinions on that group of players?
So, with Gavin Beavers, that was interesting not seeing him get on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he would have been a good choice. Like he should be there, honestly. But I would guess he might not have been released by RSL. That would make some sense rather than just. I would hope that it's not him being left off because they don't rate him. I would hope that's not what it is. I would think that would be him not being released. Eyestone, I think's a good choice, although it's somewhat surprising he was released for it, which I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad group at all. I think that's a decent group of keepers there. I mean, obviously, I'd like to see Coach in there, but it's a good group.
Yeah, he obviously wasn't gonna make it because Hansi Flick wants him with the first team.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this preseason, but I am really surprised Eystone was able to make it just because he just joined Brentford. I figured they might want him with their U21 team. Start preparing with them because last time I checked, that was the plan. Put them with their second team, which is also called their U21 team, and be their number one and number two. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Gavin Beavers is rated with the Federation. I think a lot of it has to do with RSL not releasing him. I think we mentioned before, like the two clubs, in our opinion, that are notorious for not releasing players within MLS is Chicago and Real Salt Lake. But I think also Real Salt Lake is probably going to give Beavers more starts because he has looked a lot better than McMath and the appearances that he has made, which I'm not too upset if that's the case. If that is the ultimate case, if he gets starts while the tournament is going on, I won't be upset. But if he doesn't make any appearances, then that's where, if I was U.S. Soccer, I'll probably say, hey, why did you not release this kid if we're not going to play him?
Yeah. If he's getting starts, then by all means, keep him. I think that's probably better for him to get starts at a first team level than be playing in a U20 tournament. But if he's not getting starts, not getting minutes, that's a little frustrating.
Yeah. And probably with the case of not having Beavers and Koken there, that's probably why Duran Ferry is on the roster.
Yeah.
He was with the U17, but I would say he's like number 5 with this age group of goalkeepers. And that's mainly because he's not very good at shot stopping. Yeah, when he made his debut with Orange County this season, he did get a clean sheet, looked very good. But after that, shot stopping wasn't that great. But he's always been known to be very good with his feet. I would say, outside of Koken, he's probably our best goalkeeper with the ball in this age group. So if they do plan on playing out of the back at any point in this tournament, I can see him starting him because that's basically what they did in the last U17 cycle. So if that's the plan, I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah.
He just needs to work on his shot stopping.
Yeah, I mean, him being
But
there is what I would assume the third option isn't a bad thing. I mean, it'd be good for him to get some time with this group too.
Yeah, because I do know from what I've seen, they do rate him highly. Probably not as high as the others, obviously, but I think a lot of it is that they're hoping that he'll pan out just because he's so good with the ball at his feet compared to many of the other goalkeepers at that young level. So moving on to the fullbacks. So our starting left back is obviously going to be Nolan Norris because he's the captain. He's been the captain for them in every camp so far. And that would just leave Bombino as the backup left back. And in the past camps, Kohler has been the starting right back. Now, he is a 6, but he's more than capable of playing as a right back. When they did broadcast that Morocco game, which, by the way, was not done by U.S. Soccer, that was done by the Moroccan Federation, he was a standout for me. And apparently he was very good in the last camp as well. I definitely think that he is going to be that 6 for us that can play as a right back. The same thing that Germany had with Philip Lahm and now with Kimmich. But along with that would just leave Aiden Harangue as the backup right back. But I could imagine if they need to, they'll put Kohler at center back and then put Harangue at the right back position.
Yeah, Kohler is definitely one I'm interested to see more of, interested to see how he does and where they play him in this tournament. I think he can be a pretty good player, so I'm really interested to see him. I do think the fullback group overall is pretty solid. But Kohler's definitely probably the one I'm most interested in this group.
Yeah, he's done pretty well from my understanding with Werder Bremen's second team. I mean, he was already playing with their second team last season. If that says anything, and he is quite versatile. Like I said, he could play as a 6 at his main role, but he's been playing right back for Werder Bremen too, and he's been playing at the center back position every once in a while, which is exactly what we need from a 6. We need someone who's that versatile, long term. So I guess we'll just move on to the center backs. The only ones on here are Hawkins and Cobb, which are, they're not our top 3, but they're still up there. I don't have too much of concern with them. The only issue I have is that we don't have a third center back. But again, Kohler is capable of playing as a center back. But I would have probably preferred to not bring Bombino and bring a third center back because Harangue could play as a left back. And I believe Kohler is able to as well.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the 2 players that are there. They're good. It's that no depth there really is kind of worrying. I mean, yeah, you can play Kohler there, but that's not ideal to pull him away from possibly fullback or 6 role, although the midfield group is pretty deep. But
yeah,
I mean, as far as just who's there, I have no real complaints. I mean, and I don't know who else would be able to even get released. Like, I don't know if like Widener would, anything like that. So
no, there's were absolutely no plans of Benfica to release him because of the fact that he missed so much of last season and they need him, and he's already has a start and came off the bench in the first 2 games in their preseason with Benfica B. And my understanding from the sources, because I try to push that question, does he plan to be with the U20 this cycle? And I never got an answer from the source. So the only answers I got was that he's looking past the U20 at this point. So I don't think he even will be at the U20 World Cup unless they can convince him to do so. But one positive thing out of these two being in this camp is both of these guys, in my opinion, are fighting for the number 4 spot. I know a lot of people probably have Cobb ahead of Hawkins, especially when Cobb has been making appearances for Atlanta while Hawkins hasn't, outside of the Open Cup, I believe it was, that he appeared for Seattle. But above them is obviously Banks, Weiner, and Akambani. Those are your 1 through 3. But I think whoever does the best in this tournament, I think should be listed as in the number 4. And I know that we got Taylor Hall, but when you compare Taylor Hall to these two have been doing better than him, even at the MLS Next Pro level. Hawkins, in my opinion, from watching, he's looked better than Hall. And at one point, Hall was arguably the number 2 with this group. So yeah, let's just go on to the midfield. The only issue I have with the midfield is probably the number 1 issue I have with this entire roster is Sergio Arrigo being on this team, because I watched that Morocco game. He was in my opinion, and I saw others say this too, that he was the worst on the pitch, and he looked completely lost. And apparently, he didn't have a very good camp last camp. So I don't even know how he's making a roster other than the fact that he's a Chicago boy. That's the only guess I can have, but he shouldn't be on this roster. If it was my choice, I would have brought Nate Worth. Nate Worth is a lot better player, has a lot better potential. He's more promising, everything. Yeah, you could say things weren't going very good with him at Tulsa this season, but a lot of that had to do with the new management. Last season with Tulsa, when they started getting him chances, he was very good. When he comes off the bench for Tampa, he's solid. So, talking to a source, they kind of joked that maybe it's because Neeson has connections with Tulsa, but again, this is all jokes aside. But yeah, I honestly don't know why Worth didn't even make this roster when Sergio did. It's baffling to me. But one quick note, Matt Corcoran, the reason why he didn't make this camp, and he probably would have if he was healthy, because he had surgery earlier this season. That's pretty much took him out for the rest of the year. So if he was fit, I imagine he would have been on this roster, and it would have been a great backup 6 position for us.
Yeah, I would guess, but I'm that Sergio may have made it because of his Corcoran. I can't pronounce it. Because of his injury, but I mean that'd be my guess there, or at least kind of my hope, because I haven't been very impressed by him either. So that would be my hope there, or that Worth wasn't released. But I don't know. I don't get his inclusion much either. Other than that, I think that midfield group's pretty solid. I mean, I think I like everyone on there. Especially interested in like Medina and Nico. I think those 2 are very interesting for me. And then obviously I like Columbus, so I'm interested to see how Taha does. Columbus seems to like him. He's been I think he's got 4 appearances with them. Most of them are kind of small cameos, but they do seem to have enough confidence in him to give him a start during that the Champions Cup run. They were to give him a start in the MLS against a good Salt Lake team. and thought he did all right when I watched watching that game. They didn't lose in a heavily rotated team, so he's someone that I'm interested in, and Columbus definitely seems to rate, and apparently the Federation does too.
I mean, the only other player I would include in this midfield if they could have got him released was Paulo Rudosol. But I think he's either going to be with Jan Feyenoord or they might loan him out to, I think it's Dordrecht. I think it's that partner club they have with. We'll have to see what they do with him, but I imagine the reason why he's not here is because he wasn't released.
Yeah,
But I am kind of surprised Nico did accept this call up because he was with the last U20 cycle.
yeah, that is a little surprising, but I mean, I'm not going to complain about it at all. I think he's a good
Mm-hmm.
player, and I'm more than happy to see more of him.
Yeah, he honestly needs it just because of all the injuries, and he got injured again recently. Um, but besides the fact that he already did U20 cycle, he's starting to get minutes with San Jose, so I thought he would probably turn down so he can try to still fight for starting position. I get that he has it, but it's kind of still a battle for him just because of all the injuries.
Yeah.
So for the last one, our forwards. Uh, Ninfa, I do like that he's with this group because ever since they include him into this group, he's been very good. Last camp, he got assists and Carroll's goal. He was a standout for us at the U20, U17 World Cup. I mean, at 15 years old, I think he had the most goals, if I remember correctly, from the U17 World Cup for us. Uh, but the only thing is, he's, in my opinion, he's been kind of average when he plays for Crown Legacy. I mean, I watched maybe 3 games since he's had, in my opinion, he hasn't really transitioned his performance with U.S. soccer to Charlotte yet.
Yeah, that forward group's good. I like it a lot. Figura is someone I really think's good. I think he's a very strong like player in that position. So I'm very excited to see how he does this tournament. Um, also, I will guess we'll see that he might be rotated with Zambrano, some who I don't know quite as much about, but I do think he's, from what I do know, I do think he's a good player. But Figueroa is really the one I'm interested in this group.
Yeah, I honestly think Carroll would probably bag more goals than Sobrano.
Yeah,
Uh,
I,
Things on Sobrano, he pretty much was in that Benfica U23 loophole. Not loophole. Purgatory. That's why he left for Victoria. Um, it's not that easy to keep track of youth players in Portugal and Spain. So I'm not really sure what he's done at Victoria. They have him with their B team. My understanding, he's rated highly within the federation here, but I mean, he's kind of hit and miss in my opinion whenever he plays for us. We'll just have to see what he does. But I really like that Ruben Ramos was included on this roster. He's been very good with Ventura County, which is the new name for LA Galaxy 2. For those who don't know, he has 4 goals and 2 assists. And outside of that, he's been a standout for uh, LA Galaxy's second team. it was kind of a surprise choice. He is a dual nat with Mexico. So maybe that's part of the influence, is trying to see if they can snag him. But either way, he's a good addition just because of what he's been doing.
Yeah, Ramos is
Do you have any last opinions of the roster?
no, just glad to see Ramos there.
I'll go ahead on Ramos.
Like, yeah, you said most of what I had thoughts on with him, but yeah, just glad to see him there.
Mhm.
I was trying to see what Zambrano had been doing, but my computer's not being cooperative with that. So,
Yeah, it is really hard. I don't know if I know the transfer market doesn't keep up with it, and I don't even think SofaScore even
yeah,
has anything on the
I'd
club.
gone
Let
on
me see.
I'd gone on transfer market and I was trying to find it, but wasn't having a ton of luck with it.
Because I don't even think they're in. Their B team is in the second division too. So, I think their B team is below even the second division of Portuguese soccer.
Yeah.
So that even makes it a little bit more difficult to track it unless you're in Portugal.
Yeah.
But hopefully things would give him opportunities the following season, this upcoming season. We'll have to see. Hopefully it happens. He needs to do something in Portugal.
Yeah.
So, you want to transition to the
Yeah.
group stage? Okay.
Yeah. Let's look at.
All right. So in our group, we have Jamaica, Cuba, and Costa Rica. First match, as I mentioned earlier in this video, is that our first game is tomorrow, and that's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Most of these games will be either on Fox Sports or on Fix. I think Fubo, I believe. Those typical uh, sports channels, sports programs. And that first game is against Jamaica. The second game is against Cuba, and the last game be Costa Rica. I think out of three, trying to think who would be the toughest, and I'm leaning towards Costa Rica. But Costa Rica, they're better at the senior level than they are at the youth level.
Yeah.
But again, just looking at who we have, we should win this group.
Yeah. I think we should win the group. I mean, Costa Rica, I'm probably leaning towards them as the strongest too. Although I don't think Jamaica's bad either. But I think Costa Rica's better. I think it'll be us and Costa Rica second, probably in the group, but we should win it either way. I think this isn't the strongest group necessarily, but it's still a group that should definitely make it out of the group.
Mm-hmm. And as mentioned, they should get the job done, at least get us to the semifinals to be able to qualify for the U20 World Cup that is next year, I believe. I'm kind of drawing a blank on where. But if we win Group A, we'll either play against Group B or C's third place team. So In Group B is Honduras, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, and Canada. In Group C is Mexico, Panama, Guatemala, and Haiti. I imagine it's going to come down between El Salvador and Guatemala for us if we win Group A.
Yeah, that would probably be my guess who we'd face. And yeah, the U20 World Cup is 2025 in Chile.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, yeah, and that's when they'll also have the U17 Championship and World Cup next year as well.
yes,
That is something to know. The U17 World Cup is going to be a yearly thing starting next year, but
yeah,
no
which
changes to
is
the U20. Uh, I would like if they were to make the U20 yearly because obviously not every kid gets the opportunity. Just, I mean, share luck on your birthday, what year you're
I
born. If you can't even make it,
yeah, I don't know. Yearly's I don't know. I do every two. I think is better than yearly. I think yearly's just piling too many matches onto young guys, but um, I I don't think you need to. I don't think it needs to be yearly, but I think two's fine. But I wouldn't
yeah,
necessarily I wouldn't necessarily complain if it was yearly. You see so many guys get injured with heavy match loads at this age, so it'd just be kind of concerning to me about that. But it's on the other hand, it would be nice to be able to have the chance to see more guys get through teams and play through World Cup, U20 World Cup thing, or U17 since it's now a year.
yeah. I know the reason behind why they're doing the U17 yearly is because they said they want to give more opportunities to young players. Um, maybe they'll eventually do it with the U20. We'll have to see. But a quick note: if for some reason we don't win our group, we'll have to play. If we get runner-ups, we'll play the winner of Group C, and that is most likely going to be Mexico. So you could probably see us play Mexico as early as the quarterfinals.
Obviously, you'd like to win the group because I don't think you want to face Mexico as your first game out of the group. I don't.
Yeah,
It's not what you want to be doing.
yeah, especially when you have to make it to the semifinals to at least qualify
Yeah,
for the World Cup.
yeah, they
Yeah.
need to make their job as easy as they can for themselves and just win the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I need to look at what Mexico's roster is, but I know from our last camp, and comparing to this group of kids that we have for this tournament, it's close to being even. I would say that it will go to us because we have more quality, but they have a lot of kids. They have a few kids that can pretty much balance it out for them.
Yeah, I don't think
So
it's a
that's definitely a
huge.
reason why you want to try and avoid them.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge quality gap there. I think it does
Mm-hmm.
lean towards our advantage, but I don't think that's enough to be like incredibly confident going into that game that hey, we're gonna win that game. So
Yeah, and that was kind of the same situation we were in with these kids at the U17 championship last year. They were really solid against everybody, but as soon as they came up against Mexico, it was Mexico dominated that game. It's sad to say, but thankfully this time we have a couple guys who weren't eligible for the U17 last year, like Kohler. I would say Drew Murray if he was here, but he's not. Um, and also Sobrano. So that helps a lot that they're able to grab the guys who are a year older than them into this. Actually, let me share this. It has every single group. So yeah, if you all look, I just provided the 3 groups. Yes, 3 groups that we have this time. There is the possibility to advance by even being the 3rd place team. But that's definitely not a situation you want to be in. Because I think is based on performance in the group stage determines if you are able to get that 3rd place spot.
Yeah.
But again, if we were able to have our best 21 players, I would not have any type of worries. Even if we were to somehow finish runner-ups in our group and we had to play against Mexico, I wouldn't have much of a worry if we were able to get our best. But that's the kind of situation that we've been put in. Hopefully next year's U20 World Cup, we don't have to worry about that. We can grab our best 21 and take them. And hopefully do very well in the U20 World Cup next year. These group of kids definitely do after what happened at the U17 World Cup last year.
Yeah.
So you got any last opinions on this roster and on the tournament for us?
No, I think it's the tournament we should be able to qualify for U20 World Cup. Maybe win it, hopefully, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, same. So yeah, that wraps us up for today. For anyone who's joining, make sure you subscribe to us. Leave a comments if you have any questions or your takes on how we should do this tournament. We'll see you next time.